Hi, everybody. Another week has gone by. And are you feeling the energies of March? Everybody, all the wisdom talkers are talking about March. And it is so true. And today's video might get a little lengthy, so bear with me. I tried recording this at 5:30 this morning, and I forgot to turn on my mic. And this new laptop that I have, the mic is terrible. So here I am, I'm going to do it again. But anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about the energies that are coming in March, and also about channelers, how people are starting to channel differently, and more people are channeling. More and more people are hearing the knowledge, are patching into the knowledge that's always been there for us. And I wanted to talk to you about meditation and how I do a lot of my meditating at night. And the reason that I do a lot of my meditating at night is the day is over with, the list of what to do for the day and what you need to get done and where you need to go and who you need to, all of the daily agenda is gone. And I know there's a lot of meditators that say the same thing. Do your meditations at night. I don't have a whole lot of luck meditating in the morning, and usually if I get the call to sit down and do a meditation, I usually get what it is I need right away, and there's always a really good reason why I did it that time, but for the most part I do it at night. And when I meditate at night, I sleep. This is a Lemurian seed crystal, and I've slept with this since 2010, 2011. So every night I've slept with this Lemurian crystal, and we'll get into this crystal in a little bit. But anyway, so the energies of March, there's a lot of people, if you listen to Cobra has been saying that a lot of the light warriors, a lot of the higher light warriors, a lot of the higher light workers who are really, really patched in and really doing a lot of work, they have been attacked. They've been being attacked. And last week, and then the week before, I have had the worst migraines, and I do get a lot of migraines, and the last one just sucked me out for 4 days, and a friend had to finally bring over some of her migraine medicine so I could sleep. But I am a migraine sufferer because I'm a sensitive and an empath. I've suffered from these my whole life. But this was particularly different. And I went to bed last night, and my migraine last night was a little bit different. It was right here, right in the third eye. And I really didn't put two and two together at first. But so I crawled into bed, and a lot of my videos are talking, about how talking with Gaia and everything is communicating with Gaia. And I laid in bed last night, and I grabbed my crystal, and I always put it in my hands and start patching in with my Lemurian family and with Gaia. This is a part of Gaia herself. This is a part of her body. And so it's like my doorway. And I'm laying there with this third eye throbbing headache, just throbbing. And all of a sudden I hear Gaia. Now, I don't call it channeling. I'm not channeling somebody else. I'm not channeling a master, ascended master, or anything like that. I'm not channeling another Pleiadian or an Arcturian, or none of that. That goes in with, here we are again, we're looking outside of ourselves. we're looking to somebody else for the answer, you know. And I know a lot of the channelers today, the young ones, the new ones, they are not channeling someone else. They're just going and getting from their higher self. But I like to talk to Gaia, and I'm not channeling her. I'm just listening to her. She's like a sister to me. Not a mother. She's more like a sister to me. And I think that's something that she's said to me before. We're like sisters. It's different. But so I'm laying there with this throbbing third eye headache, and all of a sudden I hear, knock, knock, more information is there for you, and you're not allowing it in. You're not slowing yourself down to absorb this information that's there for you. And so because of that, you are being knocked on the front door, my third eye. And it was like, oh, hello. Yeah. How many times have I heard this? How many times have you heard this? The information's there. You're not listening. You're not paying attention. You're so drawn into the mundane matrix program world, you're not letting it in. So your body is going, all right, we're going to have to knock her down a little bit. So now, and this is Gaia talking to me. I'm not channeling her. It's just I'm patched into her. How do I explain this? It's a little bit different. How do I explain this? Well, anyways, and so she's saying, what you have been thinking all along is true. And I know exactly what she meant about this. Those of you who have read my books, Dragon Horse and the Secret of the Forgotten Knowledge and Samaya, know about what I'm, have an idea what I'm talking about. And in Samaya, the prequel to Dragon Horse, Samaya is actually a young woman who is aspiring to be a priestess of Lemuria. And now the word Samaya means she knows. It's an ancient name, Middle Eastern. I'm not really sure. I really don't care. But I found out that it means she knows. So I hear everything that you have been thinking is true. And what I've been kind of thinking when I'm writing these books, and I tell everybody, these books, I feel like I've been writing these books for me. These books are like a journey of self-discovery. Even though a lot of people say when I read these books, I feel like it's encoded with awakening messages. It's like it triggers things within me while I'm reading. And it's like, a lot of things, we're all downloading, we're getting these encodements. A lot of people's artwork has encodements with them. Music has encodements with them, and so do a lot of us write. And so I'm getting, once again, what you've been thinking is true. And this Lemurian crystal. So here we are. This Lemurian crystal was given to me years and years ago when I was still writing the first book, and I was having a hard time finishing a chapter. There was information that I needed, and it was not downloading. And I found myself in a crystal store in Salida. And I got to know the owner of the store, and he actually was a Katrina survivor. He had a crystal store in Katrina. And when the hurricane hit, he had to evacuate and take all the crystals that he could and bring them here to Colorado. And I was telling him about my book, and he wanted to hear a lot of my stories, and I was telling him, I'm like the keeper of the feathers, and he was saying, well, that's very interesting because I've been wanting some feathers, and I can't seem to find feathers anywhere. And so I gifted him some owl and hawk feathers, and in return, he gifted me this Lemurian seed crystal. And that was the catalyst to the next part of the book. And when crystals, this is another way of talking to Gaia. Remember, each crystal has like a little being of its own, little spirit of its own, and it's almost like a voice, a voice of a Gaia, and crystals are encoded. We know they're encoded, and we can program them, and we do a lot of things with crystal. Well, Lemurian, when I was working with this crystal, and if you can see, I noticed that right here is a gateway, and that is the gateway to the Lemurian library. And that's how I got a lot of the information about Lemuria. And now remember, Lemuria has much to do about Atlantis, but Lemuria was the first civilization on Earth. They came here, it coincides with the Enlil and the Enki thing, Enlil wanting to create this new race that would serve him, and Enki not really wanting anything to do with it. So you got Lemuria with Enki, the good guy, and Atlantis with Enlil, the dark guy. And so it goes all with the balance of things. Everything's balanced. To know what we want, we have to first know what we don't want. To see the light, we have to experience the dark. To know joy, we have to learn about pain. It's all about that, the big picture. Okay. So here I am working on these books, and I start to patch in with Lemuria. And last night, it's like, okay, you were a priestess of Lemurian. I always had an idea that I was. There's just too much synchronicity to that coincides with all of this. And lifetime after next, is an oracle of Delphi. The Avalon. The witches, the healers. All that. And remember. That the Enlils of the world, the dark side of the world, the who infiltrated Christianity, wanted to get rid of all of the people like us, all of the people who came here. I came here as an Earth Watcher to help Gaia evolve, Gaia ascend. It wasn't just humanity, because I knew that in helping Gaia, I was helping Earth, and I was helping, because what happens here on Earth reverberates and changes the universe, all of the universes. And so I came here, as an Earth Watcher, and started out, as a Lemurian priestess, and then, the oracles of Delphi. And so in my sleep last night, she's saying, okay, Gaia's saying, it's time for you to heal yourself like you used to. It's time for you to remember the Lemurian healing, how they used to heal. Reiki, yes, that was useful when you were trying to remember. Now, all of us, those of us who are here lifetime after next to keep helping, assisting Gaia, we realize when we come here, we are also subject to the veils, to the blocks, everything that keeps us from the knowledge that's already within us. All that is cut off. And we come here and we know we have to fight our way back to remembrance. And so she was saying, it's time now for you to remember. You have to remember the healings, how you healed in the time of Lemuria. And she showed me, because my third eye was just throbbing, there was still like a block there. For some reason, there was a block. There was a block there, and it was the information, this information I was needing. They were blocking it and not wanting me to have this. And she says, This is what we used to do, because you did not start as a human on the third dimension when you came the dimension before the fall. Remember the fall? Before the fall of Atlantis, before the fall, the destruction of Lemuria, when the Lemurians had to go down into Agartha. I called you here, and you all knew. You didn't need the spoken words. You already knew how to talk, to commune with me. You knew how to commune with the trees and the animals and all the natural realms, all the elementals. It was just common knowledge. It was everyday occurrence. And after the fall, that was all taken away. We had to remember this. So what you're doing with me tonight, this is Gaia talking, listening to me, hearing me, communicating with me like sisters. This is something you used to do. It was just normal. And so here we are doing this tonight. And what you used to do when you had to do healings was, you connected with me, and I would send you colors and vibration. Now, vibration and colors, music, it's all healing. And I would send you the colors that you would need. Now, last night she was sending me purple and green. Well, with the chakras, we know green is the heart and purple is the third eye. And so I knew right away she was helping heal this area and my heart area. And I'm always working on my heart, always working on keeping my heart open. And even though I just had a healing with a shamanic practitioner friend who said, oh, your chakras are fine, but things happen, things cause them to kind of spin out of whack. Or like I said, there was this block here. They were trying to stop this transmission. And okay, so she's sending me these colors, and I know that they go, I have to allow the healing in these two areas and allow the opening and the unblocking of my third eye and keep the opening in my heart. And then as this is happening, I start remembering the cycle, the original cycle of why she put out the call in the first place. Why did Gaia put out the call in the first place for help? Because she was out of balance. She was all negative polarity. And she needed the balance of the positive. So she put out call in, and this is when the seeding started, and this is when the first beings came and taught about the cycle of receiving and giving. Receiving and giving back, receiving and giving back, which we have lost. So in this healing, she is giving her negative energy, negative polarity energy with the colors and the sound and the music. And the person is receiving this healing. And our bodies, the way our bodies are made up, with the positive polarity, we are taking her negative polarity and we're imbuing that and we're transmuting it, and then we're allowing it to go back out of our bodies through her hands and the bottom of her feet back to her, which keeps that cycle, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So I was breathing in her negative polarity energy, her colors, and as well, I was exhaling, transmuting that energy, allowing it to heal my body, transmuting it through my body, and sending it back into her, which in turn was helping her to heal, was keeping her in balance. And that is what so many of us lost. we've lost this receiving and giving back, this harmonious circle of balance. You know, we're just all taking, not even thinking anything about it. Take. We're just here to take. Everything here is just for us. We don't care. We don't want to give it back. And so immediately when I was doing that, my third eye just cleared. And then the information really started coming in. And she started talking about fasting, because she knew that fasting was a word that I was seeing a lot of this month. You know, the synchronicities, fasting this, fasting, you know, Jesus went into the desert and fasted, and, you know, did fasting. And anybody who does magic or healing, you need to fast. You know, I'm going to go and I'm going to fast for a month and cleanse out all this yuck in my body. Well, you know, she reminded me that fasting is an agenda. It's a dark agenda, a false light agenda. It's one of those deals where they give you just enough to make you think you're doing what you're really supposed to be doing, but in all actuality, it's not right. The original fasting was the original way we lived. The Lemurians lived on Gaia in harmony. They did not ingest animal protein. They did not have to kill and torture and murder other animals. That was from the dark side. That was from the Enki side, the reptilian side, you know, the letting of blood, the blood sacrifices that, you know, I talked about that before, I think. And so she reminded me that every year I give birth for you. I birth the fruit of the trees, the nuts of the trees. I give birth to the herbs and the grasses and the vegetables and all of that. I freely give that to you, so you may take that in your body. So when I give to you healing, and when I give to you the negative polarity, your body is already clear. It's a clear, clean temple of the goddess, and you can cleanly and clearly transmute this energy that I am giving you and send it down to me, clear and free. It's like, you know, we're eating organic food because we want this clean food in our system. She's doing the same way, same thing. She's giving to us. She's birthing every year this for us. And in turn, what are we doing instead? We're killing and murdering animals, putting in all that negative, horrible, awful energies. Who's feeding off of that? We know who's feeding off of that. The archons, the reptilians, all of that other side. They're feeding off of that energy. That's how they live. That's how they survive here, is that third dimension fear and all that yucky energy. And so she wants us to take in her organic, clean food that she births and gives freely to us, so we could take it in our clean bodies and send it back out to her in transmuted clean energy that she needs. So here we go. This harmonious circle, this balance, this harmonious balance. And so blood, this was another thing that I was thinking about last night, was the blood. Okay, there's blood, you know, everything, the Luciferian worshipers, everything's about blood, and, you know, they want the blood, but they want it from a being that is tortured, a being that's been horrified and traumatized and fearful, and they want that blood. They want the energy of that blood. Well, when we go back to the first bloodletting, here we go again. It's this harmonious sharing. And the priestesses, the women, when they, when time of procreation was here on the planet, and when the woman did not become fertile, what did she do? She shed her menstruation fluid, the blood within her, which was very sacred. At that time, it was very, very sacred. And here we go again. These women, these priestesses, were nourished from the food that Gaia birthed for them every year, clean, freely given food. They would ingest that, and then once a month, they would shed the menstruation blood, and they would let it freely flow back into Gaia. And that was like the original sacrifice. And I talk about this in Candlelight and Cobwebs. And you know, the oracles, when I was researching the oracles, and ever since I saw John Collier's painting of the Oracle of Delphi, you know, her sitting on the tripod with the hood, and she's got the laurel plant in her hand, and you can see the energy, the mist coming up through the fissure, you know, in the adytum. It was like, I've done this before. I know I've done this before. And I've had a past life of this. And I found it very interesting, and I write about it in the book, that the oracles, the oracles only prophesied a couple times, every 2 weeks, a couple times a month. And it was always around the menstrual cycle, when they were shedding the menstrual blood. And because that blood was, it was sacred, they called it the elixir of life. And, you know, the oracles prophesied for 1,200 years. They spoke for Gaia, the goddess of earth. That's where we get the term Gaia from. Gaia was Greek goddess of earth. And they spoke. They were speaking for Gaia. But when Christianity decided, and the dark side started to infiltrate, we need to shut this down. We need to stop these women. And then here comes Apollo. Apollo killed the dragon. The Pythia, came in and slayed the dragon. Here we go again, the bad dragon. And the oracles were not talking for Gaia anymore. They were talking for the sun god Apollo. And but the priests, they did not have their monthly menstrual cycle. And so that really bothered. That really was the one thing that they could not, utilize. So they needed to keep the women there for that reason. And so here we are talking about this blood, how sacred blood is. And, the first aha I got about how sacred blood is, earth, our body, water, our blood, air, breath, and fire, spirit, it's all elements of Gaia. It was when Lucky, if you read my books, you read about what happened to Lucky. His name is Nero in the story. And Lucky was actually my first Reiki patient. And he was dying from cancer. And I and another Reiki friend, we actually kept him around for 7 years because he was a great teacher of ours. And after 7 years, it was time for him to leave this plane, because I had to go on and bring in other teachers. And even though it was very devastating, I realized that, these are how things are. If he would have stayed with me the rest of his life, I would have not gone on and to, you know, die the little deaths. Well, Lucky got impaled on a T-post, a metal fence post, and was way on the other side of the pasture. But he got off of it and ran across the pasture, ran in front of the barn, and he left a trail of blood. And I remember looking the next day, I remember looking at that trail of blood and how it sparkled. It was like a trail of crystals. And that's where it just dawned on me how sacred blood is and how we are. Blood is full of silica. We are silica. We are crystal. And his blood had turned to crystal. And so it got me back again. Here we are talking about blood, the silica, the crystals. And so in last night talking to her, I started asking her about the crystals, silica and crystals. Okay, so here's all the knowledge, and I'm remembering that Lemuria had this vast library of knowledge. And you know, when you think of library, you think, oh, the library down the street with the shelves and the different stories and shelves of leather-bound books and you know, paper books. Well, that's not what the Lemurians had. Now remember, Lemurians, they really didn't need to speak the verbal language. You know, they had telepathy. And their knowledge, they were so ahead of us at that time. We, after the fall, we went back. And so we're starting to catch up again. But, so I'm asking her about this library, because it's like, I'd love to work in this library to have all the knowledge, and that's why I'm here, and you know, getting all this information. And I started thinking about the crystals, and in my books, when they're in Lemuria, when Samaya is in Lemuria training to be a priestess, the city is, you know, the city's made of silica and calcite, and everything's white and glowing and flickering. They don't need power. They know how to utilize what they have and how to share it with Gaia. They haven't lost that connection. So it's all freely given and exchanged. And in the story, when she goes to be initiated, she has to connect with this crystal skull. And going back into the first book, Dragon Horse and the Forgotten Knowledge, in the end, there's a part where she's having a vision and something is happening to Lemuria, and she's given this crystal key. It's one of the 13 crystal keys. So in the second book, Samaya, when she is being initiated, she gets to connect with this crystal skull. And I'm like, you know, what is this crystal skull thing in the 13 crystals? And she has to keep this crystal key, and, you know, it gets all involved. Well, then we have the 13 crystal skulls here. You know, we've heard about them. You know, Max, what's his name? Maximilian, you know, and how the Native Americans have some of them, but, you know, the knowledge is so vast that we're not ready for the knowledge yet. And so I'm talking to Gaia last night about these crystals, and she's saying, okay, so the library, remember, it's not like your library that you think of. The library is a huge, vast library of crystals. All of the knowledge is in the crystals. Now remember, crystals are keepers of the knowledge, the energies. You can program them. And the reason that we had the 13 skulls is because the library was so enormous and so vast, and with the fall of Atlantis and then the Lemurians trying to stop that, and with not much luck, knew that Lemuria was going to be destroyed, and they would have to go underground to Agartha, that they had to take all of that knowledge and imbue it into these 13 crystal skulls, and then you know, place these skulls where they would be kept safely. And so I'm thinking, oh, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. A library would not be, you know, full of books. And so it got me thinking of the Library of Alexandria. So it seems like anything that we have on this planet that has all of our ancient knowledge, you know, that's been handed down or stored, has always been destroyed. The Library of Alexandria, the same thing, the Great Fire. And you know, everything was written on papyrus, so we think, right? So that's all we've been told about. So how much of it was stored, or how many crystal skulls did the Library of Alexandria have that they were putting that knowledge into the skulls? I mean, why a skull? You know, I mean, synchronicities here. So this is what Gaia is giving me last night, and it's just coming in and coming in and coming in, and you know, and she's like, I could open you up to all of the knowledge, but your head would explode. And I told her, you know, I've done this before. Download a little bit at a time. Only download, you know, what I can take in without my head going, you know. So this coincides with March, what everybody's been saying. So many of the wisdom talkers are saying that there's just people channeling, or their claircognizance is just, it's just coming in now. And so I know exactly what they're talking about. And so this is, and I think a lot of it is because I've been doing the work. And you know, in my other videos, I keep telling you, you have to do the work. And so from going, you know, when I started my journey as a shaman or a priestess, whatever you want to call it, as an earth keeper, I started out first giving up milk. And because I learned how horrible it was for the cows, and what, you know, cows are artificially inseminated every year. They are forced to give birth every year to keep the milk going. And if they have a bull calf, they live for 3 months and they're used for veal. You know, oh, let's not call it baby calf meat. Let's call it veal. Oh, you know, you're special if you eat veal. And the little cows, if they don't need any more cows to replace the old cows, they just kill them. And so I knew about that. And so I gave up milk. And then I slowly went to vegetarianism. You know, I gave up beef was the first thing. Easy. It was so easy to give up beef, you know, and you know, that programming went away right away. And as I got rid of beef and milk, it was like my third eye and my crown chakra were there, opened a little bit more and a little bit more, you know. And then I gave up pork right after. Pork was hard because I was raised on pork and barbecued ribs, you know. It wasn't really the meat. It was all the sauce and the spices that I was addicted to. It wasn't the meat. If you eat that meat plain, it's all the crispy barbecue stuff, you know. That's what we were craving. I got rid of pork, and once again, crown chakra, third eye, opened a little bit more. And then, but but it was a slow process. You know, it was like, okay, my body was needed to change. I needed to slowly change my body. And I did not fear at all about the protein issue, the protein myths. Oh, you know, you're going to have all these diseases, blah, 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 blah. That's just that dark stuff agenda. They want to keep that crap in us to keep everything shut. And so slowly fish and chicken, and then I went to veganism. And once I went to veganism and I passed that challenge and I passed that test and went through that rite of passage, it was like things opened further, and it led me to where I am today. This final, you know, opening, this hearing Gaia, seeing her in everything, seeing her in the hawks, the antelope. 2 days ago, I look out in my arena, my riding arena, and there's a whole herd of antelope. And it's like, look up antelope, and you know, so right away I run to look up antelope, and it's all about finally where you are now. You were born into where you are today. You were born to do what it is, where you are today, and you all of your abilities, all of your psychic abilities, everything that you were born into, everything that you experience, it's all here today now for you. It's all accessible for you. And you know, I didn't even know an antelope could live their whole life without drinking water. What does that tell you? They could go their whole life without drinking water. They get water from the plants that they eat. I mean, how cool is that? So, you know, harmonious living. So, you know, I'm getting all these animals that are just in my face, you know, and then my cat, you know, this cat that I've been thinking about wanting for the last 2 years. I had to have this black minx, and you know, this is a cat without the tail. And they actually originated from the Isle of Man, you know, more of the Druid, the Avalon stuff. And this cat is supposed to be one of the most magical breeds. I don't know, but it was just strange because one day I decided to look at our local little shelter. We have a tiny little shelter, and I'm thinking, I'm never going to get this cat. I'm going to have to buy this cat, and I really don't want to spend a bunch of money on a cat. And lo and behold, at our shelter, who gets in maybe 4 or 5 cats, in comes this black minx female. Well, I knew, I had to go adopt her right away. So bringing her in, and listening to her story and the story we shared in the past, how many past lives we shared, and you know, one of these things where, what took you so long to find me again? You don't know, have any idea what I went through to be reunited with you. And she was very mad at me for the first couple of months, but she's getting over it now. But it's one of these things where they were keeping this third eye shut down. It's just, don't let her have that last knowledge. So people, now is the time. Get busy. Take the last plunge. Do the journey. Challenge yourself. I mean, if you can't get rid of milk, or if you can't get rid of pot, or if you cannot challenge yourself, you cannot control what you put in this temple, you are not going to get all the information that's out there for you. It's doing the work. It's the journey. So a lot of you are getting stuff, but you could be getting so much more. And that's what I'm trying to say. You could be getting so much more. And we need you. We need you because we need you to wake up, and we need, Gaia needs the help. And so I'm just trying to remember now, if I covered everything that I went through last night. I mean, it was amazing. It got to the point where I was so afraid because so much information was coming. It's like, I'm falling asleep here, and am I going to remember this tomorrow? I need to remember this. You know, I was so tired. I just wanted to go to sleep. And she's like, don't worry. She says, this has all already been in you. You just opened yourself to remember all this, and it's not going to go away. So the change in the healing, you know, the harmonious cycle of healing and how that works, and how different it is from Reiki. Reiki was just missing a link there. And, you know, and it's interesting because every time I would do Reiki, I always felt like there was something I was missing. And I would always, even though I wasn't taught this in my Reiki classes, I would always incorporate Gaia. And I didn't really think I knew what I was doing, but it was always that subconscious remembering to go through Gaia. And you know, so people, it's there. March, you know, they are so right on. The wisdom talkers are so right on when they're saying this month is going to be the most energetic, explosive knowledge coming in, downloading month of the year. This is it. And here we are. The month is almost over with. So take the plunge, do the challenges, turn your body into a total continuous fast. We don't do a 30-day cleanse. We don't do cleansing on the weekends. This is the first, this was how we were supposed to live from the beginning. We were supposed to live from the foods from Gaia herself. Animals are not birthed from Gaia. The fish are not birthed from Gaia. They've all heard the call, and they all came here to share in what it is we're experiencing right now. We were never intended to eat their flesh. So if you want to go through that final door, be the continuous fast. Only live foods, the foods that Gaia births for us every year. And, you know, follow the seasons of the year. Give thanks. Don't worship. Remember, we are programmed. We are hardwired to look outside of us, to worship outside of us. You know, all our gods, they're other beings from other dimensions. They're no different than we are. They're learning and growing. Some of them are a little further along than we are. We have to look within, and we're here living and being sustained by Gaia. So she's the one that we should be connecting to, her and us, and the goddess, source, whatever you want to call it. Don't look to other deities, other ascended masters, because a lot of that is the false light. We need to stay within ourselves. And it's there, people. It's there to be had. It's there to access. And if you're having trouble, you know, there's plenty like us that are awakening, who can give you the information to help you, help trigger you to awaken you. I think that's it. There was so much, and I was so afraid that I was going to forget about that. You know, did I talk about the sweat lodges? I don't remember if I did. You know, that the sweat lodges go with the the blood, you know, the women's mysteries and the elixir of life. And, you know, it was really interesting because, you know, we've been programmed that menstruation is bad. You know, women who are menstruating are unclean. You know, all the cultures that segregate menstruating women, you know, go out in the wilderness in that tent over there and stay away from us while you're menstruating. You're unclean. You have the curse. You know, that is more of that false light that was fed to us to keep us closed down. And so my very first sweat lodge, guess what I get? I start menstruating, and I knew that same thing. If you're menstruating, you do not go in the sweat lodge. But I went anyways, and I told Gary, who was the Cherokee medicine man, and he, for some reason, he really, really wanted me in that sweat lodge. And I remember waking up that morning, and I was in mid-cycle, and it stopped. And so when I went to the lodge, I told Gary, I says, I was menstruating, and I woke up this morning, and it stopped. I'm not menstruating right now. And he goes, that's because you're supposed to be in this lodge. So I did the lodge, and, you know, oh my gosh, you know, if you've ever been into a sweat lodge before, I mean, they can be brutal. And sweating, talk about sweating. Have you ever had sweat just pop out of your body? It doesn't run, it shoots. And so we get done with the sweat lodge, and there were 2 other women there who were menstruating, and they did their own moon lodge. So he goes, I want you to go in the moon lodge and do another sweat with these women. Well, I just got done like almost dying in there, and here I had to go do this again. And I knew it was a test. It was a test. I knew I needed to do this. So I went into this moon lodge, and it was hot. And I mean, I thought I was going to die. I mean, the sweat, every heartbeat, the sweat would just fly, shoot off of my body. And then it finally ended, and I got out of there. And I tell you, I barely made it home. I don't even know how I got home. I was so dehydrated and so sick. And all the way home, I saw hawks everywhere. And, you know, hawks are all about, you know, doing the journey and you know, all that medicine coming your way, and, you know, messenger, it's more than just the messengers, you know. And so I get home, and I crawl in bed, and then I end up in the bathroom, and I vomit all night long. And I thought I was going to die. I really did. Well, the next morning, I had to do another healing with another woman. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make this other healing. So I get up the next morning after vomiting all night long. And it was like, I woke up, and it was like I was supposed to go through that. It was like one of those dark night of the souls. It was like getting rid of, okay, Denise, you chose this path. You decided that you needed to remember, and you decided that you needed to peel away these layers. Well, we're going to do this. And that's what I was so sick, but I got rid of all of this yuck, these layers of crap that were holding me down, even though, you know, I started awakening in the 80s. And I get up that next morning, and I felt like I was a bird. I felt like I could just fly. And I was so excited to go to the healing, and it was just it was a fantastic healing. And so, you know, synchronicities, all this stuff was supposed to happen. So there we are, you know, these women mysteries, returning to the balance. And you know, it's the harmonious living, bringing back the balance. Once again, receiving from Gaia, using it the right way so we can transmute it and send it back to her so she can receive. It's that cycle, you know. And men, if you can't menstruate, that's fine. It's about the positive polarity coming out of your hands, coming out of your feet. Earthing is is the greatest, latest thing. Everybody's earthing. We're reconnecting. We're out there in our bare feet, stepping on Gaia. We're once again getting back to that balance, negative, positive, you know, and we need the negative. We know that the negative energies around water and you know, brooks and things like that, and we all flock towards that because we need that balancing. Same thing with the salt lamps and all that. So Gaia is getting the same benefit from us, but because so many of us choose to put the crap in this vessel, it is putting out the yuck. Or they're wearing the big, thick sole shoes, the high-heeled shoes, the shoes that are not allowing the energies back to her. So these are a lot of things to think of, things that we've forgotten about through generations, in millennia, and things that have been taken away from us. We are returning back to that. It's that simple. Are you ready to do it? You know, it's a choice. So anyways, I've gone on and on and on and on and on. And so thanks a lot, guys. And, you know, last night, I've been thinking about this video, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to do a video this week. I don't have anything. And last night it was like, whammo, you know, so I'm excited to see what we have next. So thanks a lot, you guys. Do the journey.